When I was asked to write this book, I had just finished running 76 marathons in 76 days to raise money for the Samaritans. I was a world record holder, and the publisher thought the lessons I'd learned during this challenge would make a great book. And they would have done. But once I began thinking about writing it, I realised that being able to complete the challenge was the result of lessons I'd learned in the years before. It was the outcome, not the journey. My 42-kilometre runs around every city in the United Kingdom happened because of the changes I'd made earlier in my life. And this book is a collection of simple lessons I'd learned along the way. I wanted to support the Samaritans because there was a time in my 20s when I couldn't think of a single reason to keep on living. I'm very open about my previous struggles with my mental health because I want to normalise them. Coming out of my battles with mental illness, it felt like I'd been given a second chance at life. Knowing that the Samaritans provided support in all 76 cities in the UK, it made complete sense for me to run a marathon in each one to raise awareness around their work and the rise of mental illness. This isn't a book about how to run 3,207 kilometres in 2.5 months. It's not about record breaking, endurance tests or extreme sports. It's not even really about running. While doing this latest challenge, runners kept asking me about the performance metrics, the focus mainly being on the speed at which I ran. But do you know what? I didn't care about my speed or marathon timings. It felt so irrelevant to what I was trying to achieve. This wasn't about speed. It was about connection. All I cared about was waking up, eating breakfast, and stepping onto that start line, regardless of the pain I was in. I knew that when we set off at 9 a.m, we would finish around 3:30 p.m, sometimes later, depending on who was running with me or how I felt that day. It wasn't about technicalities of how I completed a feat that no one else had ever achieved. For me, it was more about experiencing the journey. Technicalities would never have helped me anyway, because by the end my body was slowly breaking down due to several injuries, and at that point it was all about mind over matter. Sometimes the science behind how we do these things gets in the way. The beauty of the lessons I've learned from the people around me and the situations I've been in is how much you can achieve when you don't get caught up in the details and just decide to start something new. Instead of having tunnel vision, take a minute and look around you. Maybe you too can take inspiration from the people in your life or what you've been through in the past. So rather than being about marathons, this book is about empathy. We all face difficult times throughout our lives. Although we struggle in different ways, we're all connected by the struggle. For me, it's about identifying the personal hurdles we each face and how we can potentially make somebody else's journey an easier one for them. The beginning of this process started 6 years ago when one of my best friends, Tano, was in a serious motorbike accident in which he could have died. Having battled suicidal thoughts in the past and been close to taking my own life, I identified with the challenge Tano was facing, even though the adversity was different. He had lost the use of his legs, but equally he was still alive and had a second chance at life. It made me think about what I'd done to get through the dark point I had faced, and how I could try to convert that period of recovery into something relatable to him. I hoped to help him so that he could then pass that on to someone else down the line. Although I have had struggles in my life, many people face much tougher times and don't have the access to the resources I have, so this is something I knew I wanted to help with. I've committed my life to ensuring I can help as many of those people in need as possible. Helping Tano was the beginning of a chain reaction of individual journeys that would change lives. There is a formula here that hundreds of people have already used, and it works. The simplicity is what makes it so successful. By striving to achieve something, you will in turn inspire others to do the same, so that we can all support ourselves and find strength in places we didn't know we had, and live fulfilled lives. This isn't a book solely for those who have been through the extreme circumstances of life and death situations or near fatal accidents. What you have faced and the changes you want to make might be very different. You might just feel that something isn't quite right in your life and that you lack purpose, and that the solutions might relate to art, creativity, or a new career rather than exercise.